Ben Shelton's heartbreaking showdown versus Jannik. Former coach Coco Gauff reacts. It was supposed to be the match that defined Ben Shelton's rise, a clash of raw firepower against icy precision, an American thunderbolt meeting the calm alpine force of Jannik. Tennis fans around the world tuned and expecting energy, drama, and adrenaline. What they got was all that, and something far more emotional. For in that unforgettable duel, amid the swinging momentum and the desperate fight for survival, the cameras caught every shade of heartbreak on Shelton's face. And somewhere in the commentary booth, a familiar voice weighed in. Coco Gauff's former coach, one who had watched champions rise and stumble, who had shaped mental warriors on the court, now had something powerful to say about the young American's struggle. The build-up, electric atmosphere, high stakes. It was a stadium packed with tension, even before the first ball was struck. Shelton walked in with a swagger only he could carry. Explosive serve, booming left arm, that wild grin that made crowds feel like they were watching a showman in his prime. He thrived under bright lights. Jannik, meanwhile, arrived like a glacier motion. Steady, composed, frighteningly efficient. His coach, his box, and his fans all understood one thing. When Sinner locked in, the world had no choice but to follow. The narrative was irresistible. Shelton the entertainer, Sinner the assassin. Social media had framed it as a match that could prove Shelton was no longer a flash of highlight reels, but a legitimate contender. Someone capable of breaking to the upper echelon dominated by Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic. Yet no one expected the mental battle that would unfold. Round 1, the lightning bolt strikes. Shelton came out blazing. His serve cracked like gunfire across the stadium. Fans leapt to their feet as he fired aces and ripped forehands from impossible angles. For a moment, just a moment, Sinner looked rattled. His footwork grew stiff. His returns caught too much air, and even his famous down-the-line backhand hesitated, as if questioning its usual certainty. Shelton took the first set with a fist pump, yelling into the night sky, and it felt like a statement. But in the crowd, Coco Gauff's former coach, who had once coached players through similar emotional roller coasters, watched carefully. He wasn't convinced by the spectacular start. He noticed the signs early. The adrenaline spikes, the shallow breathing between points, the over-reliance on power. He burned too hot, the coach would later say. You cannot sprint through a marathon, not against someone like Sinner. Shelton's celebration was justified, but the storm was coming. Sinner's shift, the calm before crushing precision. The second set began with a subtle but terrifying change. Sinner slowed the tempo. Not physically. His footwork remained impeccable, but mentally. He started hitting deeper, longer, with just the right blend of aggression and patience. He fed Shelton ball after ball until the American's explosive forehand lost its certainty. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the tide turned. Shelton's first serve percentage dropped. He started rushing between points. His forehand, once a weapon of destruction, misfired at the worst moments. And Sinner? He was like a surgeon dissecting a wounded opponent. Quiet, clean, efficient, ruthless. Coco Gauff's former coach leaned forward in the booth. This, he said softly, is where champions are made or broken. The moments where belief is tested, where panic knocks, and you either let it in or shut the door. Shelton tried to shut it, but the cracks were spreading. The third set, heartbreak descends. By the third set, frustration began swirling around Shelton like fog. He looked toward his box often, searching for clarity, for reassurance, for any sign that he wasn't losing his grip. But Sinner offered no mercy, no space, no chance to breathe. He broke Shelton early, and the heartbreak began to show. The camera zoomed in on Shelton's eyes. You could see it. The weight of expectation, the pain of missed opportunities, the understanding that he had stepped onto court with a dream and now felt it slipping through his fingers. The former coach's voice echoed through the stadium speakers. This is where Ben has to grow. His talent is unquestionable. He has weapons people dream of. But tennis is not only about weapons. It's about managing emotional valleys. It wasn't criticism. It was truth. Truth layered with genuine empathy. Because he had coached Coco Gauff through frustration, through self-doubt, through growing pains that nearly broke her, and he had watched her emerge stronger. He knew what growth looked like, and he could see Shelton was standing right at the doorway of that same evolution. Shelton's spark and Sinner's brutal answer. Near the end of the third set, Shelton suddenly roared back with a burst of brilliance and aced down the tee at 137 miles per hour, a lunging forehand winner. But Sinner closed it out like a champion. A final down-the-line backhand, his trademark, sealed the match. Game, set, heartbreak. The reaction. Former coach speaks out. After the match, with the world buzzing about Sinner's ruthlessness and Shelton's collapse, Coco Gauff's former coach stepped up to the microphone and delivered a verdict that shocked many. But it wasn't cruel. It was powerful. This match would make Ben Shelton, he said, not break him. He explained that Shelton wasn't just playing Sinner. He was playing himself, his own impatience, his highs and lows, his emotional extremes. Ben wants to make magic every point, he said. But champions learn when to be spectacular and when to be solid. This loss, this pain, this is part of the recipe. He pointed out moments where Shelton panicked, moments where he lost structure, moments where he chased winners too early, yet emphasized that these were not faults, but signs of a young star still building his identity. Then he delivered the line that made headlines. If Ben stays hungry, stays humble, and stays learning, he'll win matches even Sinner won't see coming. Fans erupted. Analysts replayed his words endlessly. And Shelton himself, in the press room, nodded quietly when asked about the comments. He's right, Shelton said. I felt everything out there, every emotion. I'll be better for it. The bigger picture, a heartbreak that becomes history. In hindsight, matches like these become chapter titles in a champion's biography. Defeats that scar but also sculpt. Matches that reveal weaknesses, but also unlock the drive to fix them. Shelton's heartbreak became a story not of failure, but of transformation. Sinner showed why he is one of the most complete players in the world. Shelton showed why he might one day topple giants, but only if he survives nights like this. And Coco Gauff's former coach, he offered clarity, compassion, and a roadmap, because sometimes the people who've coached greatness before are the ones who best recognize its early stages in others. The final echo, the stadium emptied, the lights dimmed. Shelton walked out alone, headphones in, hood up, deep in thought. But anyone watching him knew one thing. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of a new version of Ben Shelton, one forged through heartbreak, fueled by hunger and destined to rise again. And when he does, people will look back to this night, this loss, this pain, and realize it was always part of the story. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.